Shalom, Akim, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem, El Shah, Bashem, Rakah, Quadash, double honor to the apostles, the elders of Great Millstone. Salute to the sincere Akim out there, the hope for the elect, man. All right, war is a given, man. You know, so prepare yourselves for war. All right, you brothers out there, you brothers of the nation of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. All right, that's of the hope for the elect. We're certainly prepared for war, but the 2/3 of you better prepare as well. All right. 2/3 of you niggas better prepare for war, man. You know, you see what's going on out there in Los Angeles and even other cities across America, even though you have a lot of agent provocateurs that are provoking shit, you know, to get riots out of the people, to stir people up, you know, to increase this sedition among men, because, you know, that's part of the Illuminati. That's part of their strategy of bringing the New World Order. You know, there's a term called Ordo ab Chao, all right? Which means we bring the chaos in order to establish order, all right? And the order that they're trying to establish is a New World Order, okay? And not only do you have that going on, you know, as far as America's domestic affairs, you also have war going on, of course, in the Middle East. There's always been war and turmoil in foreign lands, but like the saying goes, all roads lead back to Rome. Okay, all of the wars is being fought in these different countries, whether it be civil wars, whether it be, you know, so-called religious wars or war on terror. It all leads back to America. You know, all them roads lead right back to America. That's all being set up and instigated throughout the Pentagon. Okay, so we know Israel attacked Iran yesterday, well, almost yesterday, which is what, about almost 2 days ago now, because Iran attacked Israel just yesterday. All right, you know, Iran did a counterattack on Israel, so this is going to be a back and forth thing that's going to wind up heating up and getting other countries involved, you know, according to the prophecies. All right, according to the prophecies, you know, ain't no forgiving. Ain't no peace terms and peace talks that can smooth everything over and make everything square. Okay, Iran has launched missiles back at Israel. All right, certain cities of Israel, and the Iron Dome is not really effective, so the U.S. got involved and intercepted a few of the missiles. All right, with the U.S. involvement being known on a global scale, you know, every country is about to start having it in for America and looking at America like, you know, y'all, hey, straight up and down, y'all ain't shit, y'all ain't to be trusted, y'all are the enemy. Okay, so I'm gonna go into a couple of scriptures. That's why even NATO and America's own allies are looking at America like they can't be trusted. All right, you know, that's why in the scriptures it tells you that the 10, they shall hate the whore and they shall burn it with fire. But let me go into the scriptures, man. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 3. I'll start at verse 3. It says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, all right, talking about our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shah, who the people call Jesus Christ. All right, it says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? All right, so the end of the world is talking about the so-called white man's world, meaning their rulership on earth. Okay, because, you know, contrary to popular belief, the Lord and the people of the Lord are not white people. They're not Caucasians. Okay, all right, the Lord is a so-called black man, and we've proven that throughout the scriptures over the past few decades, man. All right, okay, so the disciples are inquiring of the Lord, when is it going to be the end of the world? All right, meaning the current rulership. Okay, the Romans were ruling during the time of the Lord, even though the disciples were referring to the Romans back in their time. But remember, everything is reincarnated, and America is Rome in the reincarnation. Okay, all right, so what Yahweh Shah was telling them, these are the things to look out for, so you can know that this is the end of the world, or the end of the so-called white man's rule, the end of the Romans, which is the Americans today. All right. It reads on to say, and Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. All right. You do got a lot of these fake pastors, fake leaders of our nation. All right. You know, these self-proclaimed prophets and preachers, okay, who are saying that they're the ones that you should follow. Okay. You know, they have this personal relationship with the Most High that can lead men to deliverance. All right. You know, and then, you know, they're not the anointed ones. The word Christ means anointed. You know, case in point, you got the new Pope. All right. You know, you had old Pope Francis died. Now they got Pope Leo the 14th, I believe that's his name. All right. And you know, he's the American Pope. And these guys are Edomites, man. You know, so they're not even of the nation of Israel. So there's no way in the world that they can be the anointed. All right. But yet, most of their followings, most of the people that follow them are Israelites, you know, mainly from the Northern Kingdom. I'm talking about you Latin tribes, you know, you Jakes from Latin America. All right. But the Lord said, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. So if you're part of the Roman Catholic faith, no matter what umbrella of it you fall under, you're being deceived. Okay. It reads on to say, and ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars. All right. Wars and rumors of wars. And wars have been intensifying all over the world like never before since the beginning of time, you know. All right. Since the beginning of time, you haven't had this much war taking place in the world on a global scale. Okay. So that's how we know we in the end. These are the signs of the times. All right. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. All right. Because this is what we look forward to. Okay. I'm talking about the brothers and sisters that are of the elect of the nation of Israel. You know, if everything was all peace and smooth and everybody just getting along, the white man getting along with the black man, and, you know, and all of the different countries and kingdoms and such. All right. Was just all at peace with each other, trading equally and fairly with each other, then you should be worried. Then you should be scared. Okay. All right. Because then that means what? You so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans going to remain in slavery or under the thumb or under the rule of the so-called white man. All right. Well, you should be, you should be elated that all of this chaos is taking place throughout the world, man. You know, these different countries and nations are at odds with each other and declaring war on each other and shooting missiles at each other. Okay. Because that means that the Lord is coming back. This is one of the signs that the Lord said to look out for, man. All right. It says, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Yeah, the end is not yet. It's not absolutely yet, because it's not absolutely here yet, because there's still certain prophecies that have to be fulfilled, you know. Like I said in a previous video, these things are happening like a domino effect, man. You know, like the economy has to collapse here in America and on a global scale. Which, once the economy crashes in America, that's going to affect the whole world, man. And the Illuminati, right, the elites of this society, mainly the international Jewish bankers, okay, and those who are in league with them of the other nations, like these rich sheiks, you know, even these top prime ministers and global leaders in the Asian world and in Africa and everything, they're all on board for this new world order, okay, to mandate a RFID microchip to chip the people, you know, and have that be the new global currency. Okay. So even though you got these wars going on, you got Israel and Iran shooting missiles at each other. All right. The end is not near, the end is not yet. It's near, but it's not yet. Okay. Because the RFID microchip has to be mandated. Okay. And, you know, and that's why you got all these wars being fought throughout the world And that's why you have the economy collapsing and becoming crippled. Okay. It says, for nation shall rise against nation. Okay. So nationality is determined by who your father is. Okay. So your race is your nation. It's not necessarily talking about America versus Russia, China versus the United States, or you know, Israel versus Iran. Okay. It's not talking about the plot of land that governments control fighting against another plot of land that another foreign government control. Nation rising up against nation means race wars, okay? And there's going to be a race war all throughout society, throughout white society, you know. And that's why you're seeing a lot of these protests, rallies, and small riots taking place throughout the world, mainly here in America, especially out there in LA right now. And LA is known for rioting. You know, LA, Los Angeles, them jakes out there in Los Angeles, they turn up, man. They turn up. Okay, they're known for fucking rioting, man. Okay, back in the 60s, there used to be a lot of riots in different cities all over America, you know, during the civil rights movement. Okay, but with Los Angeles, them jakes out there in Los Angeles, they never left. They never lost that spirit to riot, man. You know. Okay, you could take the Watts riots down at, I forget exactly what year that was. I believe that was in the 60s though. I don't know if it was 65. I forget exactly what year it was. All right. You had the Watts riots. You had the LA riots, okay, which was like in 92. Okay. All right. And of course you got these riots going on with ICE. All right. So it's all racially motivated. ICE is targeting the Latin tribes. All right, mainly the Mexicans out there, and you know, and of course, you know, the Central American Indians from, you know, El Salvador. You know, you got the Venezuelans from South America, which are being targeted out here on the East Coast as well. But the so-called white man, when he sees you Hispanics, you Latinos, right, mainly from Mexico and Central America, he doesn't differentiate any of you. He just look at you all like you Mexicans, because Mexico is borderline of the United States of America, and most of the migrants, right, no matter what country they come from, they come through Mexico and enter into the United States from Mexico. So the so-called white man sees a Hispanic, you know, he could be from El Salvador, he could be from Ecuador, okay, he can be from Guatemala, Honduras, or whatever. They're gonna say that they're gonna label him a Mexican and an immigrant, you know. And that's what ICE is doing, and they're raiding in detaining the Hispanics, the Latino so-called illegals, all right, in which this is Mexico's land, all right, from the beginning. Remember, the so-called white man stole this land from the natives, okay, but they're rounding them up and putting them in detention centers and shipping them out there to Mexico or El Salvador, all right, where they got that big supermax prison for migrant detainees. Okay, so nation shall rise against nation. It says, in kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famine and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Okay, so the Lord said kingdoms are going to rise against kingdoms. Okay, you got these, that's where, when it comes to these different countries going to war with each other. All right, hence you got Israel and Iran going at it. Okay, this is no more some little subpar paramilitary group that Israel is attacking, like Hamas or Hezbollah, that was funded by Iran. Now they just went full scale and shot missiles right at Iran, and then at their nuclear facilities, killing I believe at least 4 of their top generals, man. You know, so that's a straight up declaration of war. Okay, and Iran had to respond. They had no, leaving them no choice but to respond by counter-attacking, launching not nuclear missiles, but launching missiles at Israel. Okay, you know, and so it's going to be casualties behind this, and as things intensify, you know, other countries will eventually get involved according to the prophecy. Okay, now I don't know how long it's going to take for America and Russia to finally lock horns and engage with war in a war with each other, but it's gonna eventually happen, man. Okay, it's gonna eventually happen. So prophecies are moving fast, man. So prepare yourselves for war. You know, that's the entitlement of this video. That's the purpose or the point of this video. All right. in verse 8, I'm gonna end it on that note. It says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. All right. So all of this, you know, the race riots, the global wars, World War III, you know, famines and diseases, all right, earthquakes, you know, bugged out natural disasters or disasters being manipulated by the so-called white man's weaponization of the weather through the HARP program. All of this shit is the beginning of sorrows, man. And it's all prophecy. Okay, but this is what you, if you looking forward to the kingdom of heaven, all right, and the Lord bringing back peace on earth to Israel, because that's who the Lord is dealing with, and those are the only ones who are promised peace. Okay, then this is the hell you have to endure. All right, so prepare yourselves for war, Akim. I'm gonna say Shalom, Baba Rakim to you brothers out there and you sisters out there. All right, Lord willing, I'll see you in the next one. Shalom.